then go on different platforms to reach a wider audience. And that's how you're going to grow your listeners and your downloads.
Yeah, I've always said, because I do a lot of guest appearances on podcasts too, and I like the people who will go through and create, show notes, or will actually transcribe the interview, or have highlights that, will add some graphic design. There aren't that many, considering, compared to the numerous podcasts I've been on personally, or that I know about, where they actually go that extra mile. And, it's a lot of work, right? So is that something that makes sense then, to have somebody like you, or through your business, to be able to do that service? Is it a full service business like that?
Yeah, I offer a full service production. So literally all you have to do is record it and upload the audio into Dropbox or Google. So my team and I take care of everything else. If you want to do it yourself, there are many tips and tricks. I have a website full of resources that you can use to do this on your own. And it's really about creating templates, processes that are one time you create it. And then, for an image, you create this template that you then swap out the title and the image of either yourself, your guest, whatever it is for that episode. And it's kind of one and done. It becomes very automated and much easier than the initial setup per se.
Right. And so that's the thing, that you will make it possible for people to not have to do all that and still have the highest quality of output. I mean, you'll get it into the blog post you're talking about, the show notes, the graphic design, all of that as part of your service.
Social media. Yes, we do it all. So we do the captions for Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, the images for Pinterest and YouTube, and everything that you can think of, we have thought of, and that is what we do. So we've made it as easy as possible for someone to have their own podcast.
That's great. Well, I can't think of a better time to be doing that. And, give us some tips, if you can, about how to figure out what your podcast should be about.
Well, first, you're going to want to think about who you want to listen to it. So you need, just as you do in business, creating an ideal client avatar, you want to create an ideal listener. Who is it that you're talking to? Is it, male, female, both, the age? So you want to really think about who you're talking to and what is it that you want to say. Do you want to talk about your business in regards to the tips and tools that you can offer? Do you want to have experts on that you want to interview? Do you want to have a combination of both? And, all of this brainstorming, put it all down. I'm a big fan of Trello, the online project management tool. So I will literally, anytime I get an idea for an episode for myself, I throw it up on Trello, I give it a card, and whether or not it makes a move over to the actual episode column is another thing. But anytime I have an idea, I put it down there. So really just figuring out what is it that makes you light up, that you want to tell people about, and go from there. And it really doesn't matter if you have 1 million downloads or you have 500 downloads, because like I said before, that one person that listens, it's better than, 1,000 people who are kind of like, it's okay, but they don't come back. So it's talking to that ideal listener and ensuring that your content addresses what they want to hear, but making sure that it's something you're interested in too, because as much as it is for them, it's your podcast and it should be something that makes you proud, that you want to put out into the world.
Well, but would you have, I understand the per episode thinking that you're talking about. Would you recommend an overall theme? And how does one decide on what makes the most sense in an overall theme, if there's a way?
And, that's really a personal question, a personal preference, because I have some clients who will take on a season and make that a certain theme. So they ask, one question, and that's what 10 episodes are going to be about. And then the next 10 episodes will be about something else. So you can really play with it any way that you want. My personal podcast started out more as my journey and my career switch and just some of my life lessons that I've learned along the way, and then talking about podcasts and PR. And it's pivoted a bit this year into bringing on guests that I didn't last year. I didn't have guests really on the show. And I've asked all of them about their career switches, and then they bring in what tools they can offer for people starting their businesses from scratch. So we're learning from each other along the way. It can be about anything. I've seen a lot of people pivoting depending on what's going on in our world right now, with the pandemic or, racism and what the current times are, and bringing that in. So it can truly be whatever you want it to be. And it's okay to also pivot along the way and integrate different things and new things and more relevant things.
Well, that's really helpful to know because, one of the things that is a buzzword, I hope it's going out of fashion, honestly, but the idea of branding, right? That we have to have a brand and then we have to stick to it. And, I think that what happens is brands don't build businesses. And people miss that unless you have $150 million budget for brand building, like, or you're a Coca-Cola, where your brand is the inherent value in the product or the service. But, the podcast itself can become a tool for your business or for an entrepreneur. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes. It's a great way to not just showcase your services, but to showcase who you are. And it allows people to hear you, to listen to you, and really takes away that entire vetting process of whether or not they want to work with you. Someone can listen to you over and over again and think, you know what, this is the person that I want to do all of my business with because I like their personality. I like their attitude. I like their work ethic that just comes across in the episodes that are being put out there. So that's why I say it's one of the best marketing tools, because it allows people to get to know you as a person, and they want to work with you because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a blast also with the people that I get to bring on. It's an extraordinary possibility of really a blank slate that we get to create every time we have a show. And it's just so much fun, but hopefully also brings great value. And it's the variety. I get bored hearing my own thoughts sometimes, And so having somebody else bring their wisdom to the table is huge, just for me personally, as much as for my listeners. So I'm thrilled to have people that can come on and share their expertise like you. And, as a takeaway, what advice or tips could you give to our listeners to develop that relationship building quality that you're such an expert at?
Do your research. Research who it is that you are talking to or you want to talk to build that relationship, and simply reach out. The worst that can happen is someone says no, but what happens if they say yes? So put yourself out there, but make sure you do your research. And when you're pitching something, make it about the other person. Don't just make it about you. What do you have to offer and bring to the table, and let them know that. So you're not selling yourself per se. And the same thing goes when you're on an interview, to make it about the knowledge that you can share and not the product or service that you're selling.
Yes. Well, I mean, you have been a perfect exemplar of that philosophy of giving so much here today and really helping us, anybody who's even considering out there to get started. You've made it seem very accessible, very necessary, and really possible. I can't imagine somebody better to shepherd that process than you and your company.
Thank you.
And please let our listeners know, how can we find you?
Yes, my website is themslcollective.com. You can also find me on Instagram. It's my name, Michelle Glogovac, and my podcast is called My Simplified Life, which is everywhere podcasts are available.
I love that. And tell us what we can expect when we get on to My Simplified Life.
Yeah, that's the podcast. You can expect to find out all of the tools and tips that you would need when you are launching your business for the first time, especially if you're coming from the corporate world into the entrepreneurial space, because it is such a big learning curve. So all of my guests offer something that will help you, whether it's marketing, finance, websites, funnels, everything there is to learn, you're going to learn it on the podcast.
That's fantastic. Well, I am so excited that we got to have you here today, and incredible. I've taken notes. Everybody, I'm listening. I'm looking for ways that I can improve this show and its reach to find the right people. And I can't think of a better shepherd than Michelle Glogovac. And so, Michelle, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your vast wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
It's fantastic. Thanks, everybody. And Michelle, MSL, tell us your website one more time.
The MSLcollective.com.
Okay, the MSLcollective.com, which will be in the show notes as well. Thank you again, Michelle, and everybody have a great week.